Welcome to Women Empower Active, an initiative started by UR Sportswear to empower women to find their own active adventure. I'm your host, Jacqueline Gross. Today, we are interviewing Patty Peoples, an amazing athlete who was one of the first women to compete in the Tour de France and has just kept on pushing and improving and competing. Patty has a very long resume in cycling and competing in triathlons, and more recently, duathlons and pickleball. Patty is an incredible athlete, and it was just such an inspiration to speak with Patty. I really think you're going to enjoy this episode. All right, so let's get started. Like, how did this whole adventure start for you? How did you become active?
Okay. Well, mine's not the traditional route. Okay. And I think that's what people find fascinating about my trajectory into athletics and everything, because I did not come from a sports background. I didn't play sports in elementary school, middle school, high school, um, like most athletes. One thing is in high school we really didn't have a lot of women's sports. Okay. You have to remember, I'm currently 66 years old. So when I was in high school, it was the 70s. So we didn't we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have
Yeah.
computers, we didn't have a lot of sports. And I grew up in an agricultural town. So, farmland and things like that. So we played outside. We did a lot of stuff, outside. It wasn't really, and I came from a large family. I come from a family of 7 kids. I have 4 sisters and 2 brothers.
Wow.
And the neighborhood I grew up in Maryland, had a lot of kids also. So basically, we had our own teams. Everybody would just show up at the elementary school, which was right smack in the middle of the neighborhood, and we say, "Hey, you want to play baseball? You want to play, um, football? You want to play soccer, foursquare, tag, whatever." And we just played until the dinner bells rang. And that's when you went home. Either the street lights came on, or you heard your dinner bell, or it got dark. Then everybody just kind of ran home. So that was that. But in high school, I was a cheerleader and I was a pom pom girl,
Mhm.
and I loved motivating people to cheer, to get involved and things like that. So that's when I think people say, "Oh, no wonder you're such a good motivator now," because I've always been a motivator. So you don't really know what a skill like that's going to do until you're older, because you never look at it as a skill when you're a child.
Mhm.
So I always took the leadership role without knowing I was a leader. I just was outgoing, and had a lot of energy. So, and liked to do a lot of things. It wasn't until college that everything changed, because when I went to college, it was a huge university. University of Maryland had about 40,000 students, and we, came from a small town. And my girlfriend and I said, "Wow, this is big. We got to join something. We got to join something." And there was a piece of paper, handwritten, stuck to a tree, that said rugby players wanted, no experience necessary. My girlfriend and I looked at each other like, "What's rugby?" We're like, "I don't know." We're like, "Well, we know we don't have any experience, so let's go to this thing." So we show up at this rugby practice, not knowing anything about rugby. And they made us run around the golf course. It was like 3 miles around, do these drills. Just, it was like, I guess, like a boot camp type thing.
Mhm.
At the end, my girlfriend said, "One and done. This is not for me."
Mhm.
But it triggered something in me. I was like, "Oh, this feels good. I like this." Um, However, what I did not like is I was last in all the drills. I was last in everything, but I didn't like being last. So, and I mean, I was pathetic. I mean, I didn't know how to run. Just run. You just run.
Mhm.
Anyway, so I came back the next day and kept coming back, and the girls and the coaches looking like, "She's back. She's so bad. I can't believe she wants to do this." And so I just started doing a little bit extra on my own, and my goal was not to be last. In one of these drills, I'm not going to be last. So I kept coming back. And the coach came up one day and said, "What are you doing? You're getting better." And I said, "Oh, well, I'm doing some research. I'm hitting the gym. I'm running on my own." Because I figured out back then, if I did everything just at practice, what everybody else is doing, and they're moving up and I'm moving up, but I'm still I'm still behind. So I have to do something in addition in order to at least get as good as the second to last person. Actually,
Mhm.
be a little bit better, so I'm not last. Anyway, long story short, I eventually started not being last. And that first time I was not last, you would have thought I got so excited. The girl's like, "Why is she so excited? She's jumping up and down." I'm like, "I'm not last." So to me, that was a victory.
Mhm.
And my goal was to be a starting player, which then eventually I was the starting player inside outside center. And I played for 4 years for the University of Maryland as a stinger. That was the name, Stingers.
Mhm.
And so I liked tackling. When you tackle properly, nobody gets injured. I liked playing in, we would play in the rain, we'd play in the cold, in the mud, and then of course you had the parties.
Mhm.
Rugby players love to dance and drink. So now, mind you, when I was in college, beer and wine was legal for 18. Okay,
Mhm.
we have to emphasize that because most people watching this would probably be like, "Oh, they were drinking in
Yeah.
college." Anyway, so that triggered, really everything. And it's
Mhm.
like, wow, this is great. But we only practiced Tuesdays and Thursdays and games on Saturday. So I didn't really consider myself, an athlete. I was playing a sport. But then when I graduated from college, I had worked all my life. Well, all my life since I was like 14. Because coming from 7 kids, my parents told us a long time ago, if you want to go to college, we can't afford to send everybody. So we're not going to pay for anybody to keep it fair. Even though my father wanted to send the boys, he didn't think that girls needed a college education. And remember, this is the 70s.
Mhm.
But my mother was like, no, the girls are going to get a college education if they want it, but everybody has to work for it. So after college, I thought, "Oh, I need a break. I've been working since I was 14." So I decided to go to the Florida Keys. And I had my backpack and went down with some people. Unfortunately, see, everything as you get older, you realize when you look back, everything that happens to you in life ends up being part of your road to whatever you're going to.
Mhm.
So things that kind of go bad or you're not expecting can be a change in your direction, which you're supposed to go. So there we are in Florida. I had $300 left over from paying for school and everything. I thought I was rich, $300. But then, so we were going to go diving, off the just off the beach, because at University of Maryland, I got my diving certificate as part of my college education, so I was a certified diver. Anyway, we got burglarized.
Oh.
Someone had broken into our car and took everything. Now, why that's significant is I decided I'd put my $300 in a dirty sock in the glove compartment because I didn't trust the campsite. Well, they grabbed that sock and everything else. They did leave my jeans. So the only thing I had was a quarter. So now that's all I had that I owned was 1 quarter. And
Wow.
everybody said, "Well, what are you going to do now? You're going to go home? You're going to want to borrow money?" I said, "No, I'm not borrowing any money because then I have to pay you back. And how am I going to pay you back? I'm not going home." I said, "I know if there's one thing I know how to do, and that is work." So I went to the dive shop, gave him my story, and I said, "Is there anything I can do to make some money?" He looks at me, took pity on me, and said, "Yeah, I have some envelopes I need addressing and mailed." So I said, "Sure, I can do that. Can I do it outside? Because I also kind of want to get a tan. I'm here on vacation, you know." And he's like, "Go ahead." Anyway, at the that's the leadership in me. I
Yeah,
kind of like to
exactly.
proactive. I take control. There I
Yeah,
am when I'm
I like
20 years old. Can I do this outside?
it.
So at the end of the day, this is where college education and my business classes came in handy. At the end of the day, he went to pay me. And I said, I really need those fins. because I had left my fins at home. And I said, so I calculated out what retail was, what wholesale was, and what he was going to pay me. And I said, I really need those fins. So how about if we call it even? You give me the fins and you don't have to pay me. That's my payment. He's like, but I thought you didn't have any money. How are you going to eat? I said, if I have fins, I can dive. If I can dive, I can fish.
Mhm.
So I will go diving for fish and I can eat the fish. So he gave me the fins.
Mhm.
So I'm diving for food. And then he says, well, you want to work some more? Anyway, I ended up staying there 6 months.
Oh my God.
I lived on the dive boat. I became, because once they found out I was certified, I became a first mate in the dive shop with the boat captain. So I went out every day and I was the first mate on the dive boat, went diving when they needed a second person. So little did I realize that I'm working out every day, not realizing what all this working out is going to eventually mean down the road.
Mhm.
Okay. So that's why it's kind of, interesting. So I did that, 6 months. And meanwhile, I was also trying to get my own boat. So I was trying to become a Marine Patrol.
Okay.
I wanted to be a Marine Patrol. So I'm at the construction sites, applying for, trying to get a job. They're all looking at me like, you're a girl, get out of here. So this one guy, so I went back this second time, making the rounds again, trying to tell them, yeah, I can do it. I just give me a shot. So this Marine guy comes out that had this marina, and he says, "You've been here a couple of times. What are you trying to do?" I said, "Well, I'm trying to get a job." And he says, let me show you what I need done. If you think you can do it, you get the job." I said, "Well, what is it?" He says, "See this whole dock here? You need to just rip this out. You need to know how to use a jackhammer, a chainsaw. You drop any wood in there, you need to get it, wood into the marina. You need to get in this skiff, get all the wood out. But this dock needs broken down. We're putting in a new dock."
Mhm.
And I said, "You show me how to use the equipment. I can do this." He says, "Okay, you're hired." So I come back the next day. I have cut off jeans on, my bathing suit top because I'm trying to get tan, and be working outside. I got boots on. The guys that I was working with the dive shop, they fitted me with a belt. I mean, I was like so excited. So I
Mhm.
get there, and all the construction people, of course, all the construction guys are now looking at me, and I worked my butt off, and I got it done in less than a week. And the marina guy would come out and he'd say, you can take a break. And I said, "Oh, I know." I said, "But, I'll take a break when I need a break, but I get something going. I'm in the flow, you
Mhm.
know." And then he offered me a full-time job afterwards. He goes, "You're very good with the customers," because I would go in and help in the shop when I'd take a break because I didn't like just sitting there.
Mhm.
Anyway, then the construction guys tried to hire me. And I said, "No, I told you I could do it. I actually got a job to your competitor down the street." So I went down the street. Now I'm actually on a construction site,
Mhm.
but I lasted maybe 5 days because they did not want a female on the site.
Oh.
And they did everything to make my life miserable. And I thought, I'm not here. This is not my career.
Mhm.
And I like to have fun while I'm working. But
Yeah.
they didn't appreciate my efficiency. They're like, "You work way too fast. We get paid by the hour." And then I was saying, we can carry more wood if we all move in and lift. And they're like, "Don't tell us how to do this. You do it all way or this." Anyway, I left there.
Mhm.
But so when I went back north, um, I decided, well, because I was going to come back down because I also went to the Dry Tortugas. I worked on a lobster fishing boat, and we had to go out to the Dry Tortugas. And I'm throwing traps over, and the water's going, and I'm turning all green, but I'm still working. And finally they called me and they said, "You're turning green. Get in here. Why don't you say something?" I said, "Well, I don't know. I'm just working." And then I realized, I need to get a little stronger. If I'm going to be coming back down here and doing this in the off season, building traps, throwing it over the boat, I need to get stronger. So start working out in the gym. Okay. Then as I'm working out in the gym, this guy comes up to me and says, "What are you training for?" And I said, "Training? I'm just working out." He goes, I've never seen somebody so focused and working out as hard as you that wasn't an athlete training for something.
Mhm.
Because so I was like, he says, have you ever run a 5K? And I said, no. He says, I think you could be fast. He goes, I like to train you. I said, well, I don't have any money if you're looking for someone to pay you. He
Mhm.
says, no. He goes, I'll do it for free. So he saw something in me that I
Mhm.
hadn't seen in myself yet. I'm just a focused individual. With anything I do, you know, I just zero in, figure out how it gets done, and just do it. He started introducing me to runners. And then I was working out in the gym, and then I was working out, not only working out in the gym, but I started working in the gym. Um, and then, just one thing led to the other. And a boyfriend at the time did the um, Oxford Triathlon, which was the long distance at the time. It's in Maryland. It was a 2.4-mile swim in the river.
Mhm.
Then it was a 50-mile, no, 20-mile run. It was swim, run, bike, then bike 50 miles. And he came back and said he did it. I said, what? You completed that? I thought to myself, if you can do that, I can do it. So that's how I got into triathlon. He did it. And at one point he said, oh yeah, me and my buddy, we even, took a nap by a tree. They stopped and got a beer, you
What?
know, just to finish it. And so I started going, well, I'm going to do that. So I started training and I started doing research. I joined a master's team at the swim team at the club. Now I'm training with these runners who are just running. And then I met some cyclists. And it's just all slowly, coming but I was determined that I'm going to do that race. Next year I was going to do it then. So I'm working and working out and meeting these different groups of people and riding, cycling, doing all this stuff. And then the time comes, and I had a borrowed bike. Um, and then I went to the race, and I ended up 11th female. And everybody was shocked. I was shocked. I mean, on a borrowed bike. I really didn't know how to. I had to use every stroke. I did, and I even made up some strokes just to get across that river. It was we were going against the stream too. It ended up being a lot longer than it was supposed to be. I came out, river. My face, I had mud kind of on my face. Rivers are dirty.
Yeah, yeah.
They're not pristine. It's not like the Caribbean or anything like that. But I finished, and I thought to myself, when I saw people on podiums, I thought, wow, I'd like to stand on that. So I decided at that point, Patty, you're going to have to do better. You're going to have to actually train more. You're going to have to commit to this. And so then I decided I'm going to be a full-time athlete.
Mhm.
I'm going to be a triathlete. I asked my parents if I could move home so I could not have to pay rent at the place where I was. And I'd still work a little bit part-time, but I went and I got some sponsors. And so in 1983, that was a big year for me.
Mhm.
I was a full-time triathlete.
Yeah.
Um, and that was the USTS series. My goal was to do well at this race and qualify for Kona. I'm gonna do Kona in October of '83. And next thing you know, I'm winning races. With that one race, I went from 11th. I was fourth. And then I went to Chicago USTS. I was fifth overall.
Mhm.
Mind you, I didn't come from a background. Everybody's like, what kind of background do you have? What kind? I'm like, I was a gym rat. I played rugby. I was first mate. I worked on a lobster boat. You know, and they're like, what? um, and another funny story is how I finally got my first free bike. Is I was invited to ride with this group of guys that were cyclists, and one of them owned the local bike shop. I show up in a Kmart bike that had the handlebar. It had brakes on the top. Brakes on. I thought it was the coolest bike. It was my own bike. Um, and showed up in knee socks, running shoes, running shorts. I didn't have, all the gear. And I remember the guys like they said, "She's riding with us," kind of like, really. So we went 25 miles, and I hung with them because I was determined not to get dropped. And at the end, everybody's like, "Oh my God." And Adam, who owned the bike shop, said, "What could she do on a real bike with actual cycling clothes on?" So he says, "Try my bike out." I get on it and I said to him, "Something's wrong with this pedal." And he's like, he gets on mine and he goes, "Oh my God, your crank arm is broken. It's twisted, it's bent." So his bike seemed weird to me because I didn't realize that mine broke. And so I was kind of riding like, one leg was kind of always a little bit off.
Oh my God.
So I was developing my muscles that way. But, the thing was, my mind was a strength, just ride hard. You
Hmm.
know, I didn't think about this. It feels weird. I thought that's the way it's supposed to feel.
Hmm.
Anyway, so he's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you've been riding this bike like this." So he gave me a bike, he gave me clothes, he gave me, all this stuff. And so I really wouldn't have gotten and moved up if people didn't see something in me and want to help me. It's not like I really went out and said, "Please help me," penny on me or anything. Some people just like to help, pay it forward.
Hmm.
And enjoy seeing somebody who, you know, looks ridiculous actually go from like a caterpillar to a butterfly.
Hmm.
That's pretty much how it was. And I was very grateful and always would I seemed to have a natural talent back then for marketing and promotion. So, and also I had, my college degree, but it really had nothing to do with that. It's just, I think when you have a promotional, like kind of like sales, you can teach somebody techniques, but you really can't teach them to sell. They have to have a certain personality.
Hmm.
And I would say, okay, these people are helping me. Since I didn't have money, what can I do to help them? So I would, I started getting interviews. I started doing stuff at the President's Council on Physical Fitness. All these doors opened up just because of sports.
Hmm.
Okay. So, so now I'm doing well at these races, right? And my girlfriend, who was a runner, now it's 1984. Okay. And um, it's going to be 1984. And so I did qualify for Kona. I
Okay.
won the East. Okay. How we got into like the Tour de France and all of that
Yeah.
um, is at the East Coast Triathlon Championship.
Yeah.
The winner of that race, the male and the female, got a slot into Kona. That was part of the prize. Okay, so I was like, I got to win this. Well, at that same time, there was a coach from the USA Cycling Federation there doing a cycling clinic. My girlfriend, who was training for the marathon, because 1984 is going to be first time for women in the marathon and
Hmm.
bike racing, she said, you ought to try out for the Olympics in bike racing. And I told her, I said, but I've never done a bike race. She's like, yeah, but you're so fast on the bike. I said, yeah, I'll look into this. Just so happens there's that clinic. I'm not like an omen person. Things happen for a reason. I'm a
Hmm.
very go with the flow. So I walked up to him and I said, "Excuse me, how do you try out for the Olympics?" He looks at me. He's like, "And who are you?" Because he knows all the top cyclists. I
Hmm.
mean, he's from the coaching staff and everything. So I said, "Well," and he goes, "How many bike races have you done?" I said, "None." I said, "But the people tell me I'm really fast on the bike." And he's like, "Well, I think you need to get a license, race the bike for a while, and then 4 years from now there'll be another time." I was like, "Well, okay." So I did the clinic, but now I did the race. I won the race. So I was on his radar after, the clinic thing when I asked him how to be a bike, try out the Olympic team with no experience. And he's watching the race and he's like, "Oh my God, that's the girl who came up to me." So I won the race. And actually, one of the pictures I sent you is me coming across the finish line. I won the race, qualified for Kona. Then he came up to me and said, "What are you doing now?" And I said, "Well, now I go to Kona. Instead of going to Disneyland, I'm going to Kona." And he said to me, "Oh, you're one of those long distance people." And I said, "Well, yeah, so." Anyway, I went about my way. In November, so that was so after the Ironman, in November, I get a call from the Olympic Training Center, and they said, "We would like to extend an invitation to you to come out to the Olympic Training Center, train with the national team in preparation for the Olympic trials." I was shocked,
Hmm.
shocked, and also now I was, I a little bit of doubt got in my head. I was like, "Oh my God, what have I done?"
Hmm.
Like, so sometimes you need someone just to kind of give you that little push. So I said to my mom, I said, "Mom, what should I do?" Because so many people at that time, I'm 27, I think, 27, 28. People say, "Patty, when are you going to get a real job?" Being a triathlete is a real job. I said, "I'm doing it full time, so that's a job.
Yeah.
When are you going to get married? When are you going to have kids? All that stuff." So I asked my mom, "What do you think I should do?" And she said, "Patty, this is a window of opportunity. If you don't take that opportunity, you may never get it again. You're going to have regrets." She said, if I had this opportunity back in the day, I probably wouldn't have had 7 kids. And she says, "The worst thing that can happen is you come home." So I said, "You're right. I'm going to the Olympic Training Center."
Mhm.
So I packed everything up, you know, went out to the Olympic Training Center. I come in there all flashy with my triathlete stuff, reds and pinks. Lots of triathlete.
Yeah.
This is the 80s. Okay. 80s are known for what? Colors.
Yes.
Colors. Triathlons are known for color. It is bright. Well, everybody's like, "No, black and white. Black and white." So everybody's getting a little history lesson here too. Back in the day, cycling was always just black and white. Um, and I was not welcomed by the females. I was not welcomed by them. They're like, "Who is this?" And they're like, "She's never done a race." What? And I can, if the shoe was in the side, I mean, this is now their opportunity. It's the Olympics. They're training national team. There's only going to be 3 people selected, and here comes a triathlete in. So I had a lot to prove to them that I deserved to be there. I was still my friendly little self, and as we're out on the training rides, eventually I was welcomed because they said, "She is talented. She's not only talented, she's now part of our competition too." Because they don't know me, so I'm an unknown. They've never
Mhm.
seen me race. How does she race? What's her strategy? So that was quite interesting. Anyway, so I was also a member of the top team in the United States. I was put on the 7-Eleven Olympic development team. Okay. So in hindsight, I wish I didn't have that because that's a target on your back. It would have been better for me not to have a target,
Mhm.
but to just come in and kind of do things because no one thinks you can do it. Anyway, so when we got to the Olympic trials, um, it was interesting because I was learning the politics of the sport. And I'm thinking I'm initially going to try out for the Olympics. Well, I get kind of an ultimatum. They're like, "Patty, you're working for 7-Eleven. So we want you to," they most likely Rebecca Twigg that was their number one gal.
Mhm.
Okay. But they wanted more 7-Eleven women on the team. The big teams back then, the two big rivals were 7-Eleven and Raleigh. Connie Carpenter was Raleigh. Rebecca Twigg is 7-Eleven. Whoever's going to be the third person, you want it to come from your team because then you have a teammate, even though you're all going to be Team USA. There's
Mhm.
going to be a little bit more teammates between the two that come from the same trade team. Anyway, so I get to the trial and I thought, okay, I can either go for broke and go on my own and try to be one of those top 3. The only way I would have made the team is if I won the whole trial. So they have a couple races. Realistically, you know, I'm driven, but I'm also a realist. The chances of me winning overall, not that good. So I thought, okay, I'll play the game. I'll help and show that I'm a good teammate. So I'm trying to help these other 7-Eleven riders, and they're coming off, and I'd have to kind of go back so they can draft off of me and get stuff. So after so many laps, I forget how many laps the trials were. After so many laps, I got the go ahead. They said, Patty, you've done your job. Take off, ride for yourself. That's all I needed. I'm just motoring. I was like crazy, passing people. I ended up 14th in the trials.
Wow.
And little did I know when they announced the Olympic team there, they also, but they didn't, I don't think they actually announced everybody yet at that point, but they were going to announce the women's Tour de France team. And I got named to the team. Now, I had no idea what the Tour de France was. I
Hmm.
mean, remember, I didn't come from bike racing. I didn't grow up with bike racing. I didn't follow bike racing. I was there just to try out for the Olympic trials, right? Um, so everybody's like, then some people like, what? This is her first year racing, because I didn't really do my first race until March. And then here the trials were in May or June, and now May, and I'm going to the Tour de France in July. March, April, May, June, July, 4 months.
4 months of racing.
But,
Incredible.
you go with the flow,
Mhm.
and then I find out, okay, that I'm going to be the main domestique. There's always in the Tour de France or any bike racing, you have your different leaders. You have your sprinters, you have your climbers, you have your GC riders, which means overall. And then you have the domestiques who are supposed to help somebody get those other spots. Bike racing, though, is a team sport, but unfortunately, the public, it's not portrayed so much as that. You don't hear about, okay, 7-Eleven won the race. You hear like, I'm just going to throw a name out there. Just say, Mary Smith.
Yeah.
Mary Smith wins so and so. Well, Mary Smith didn't win it without a team. Whereas in basketball, let's take basketball. You hear the Lakers won, the Clippers won. You don't just hear one person won. So I think in bike racing, the announcers and everything need to understand and be educated about what bike racing is, because usually only one person gets recognized, and then the whole team is like, well, what are we, chop liver? You know, that person wins because they have a strong team behind them. That's why you want a strong team. So somebody is going to take the overall, but it's still a team thing. Anyway, so I was the main domestique. So I was told, who's ever the leader, you work for. And initially it was going to be Betsy King. She lived in France. Um, she knew a lot of the courses. She was a good racer. She was excellent. However, she got a little crash. I don't know if it was the first day or if it was before. I mean, it was so long ago. I didn't pay a lot of attention to details. I didn't know I'd be talking about it, 40 years later. And I didn't know that at the time that it was going to be such a big deal.
Mhm.
But it is a very historical
Yes, it
moment.
is. Yeah.
Very historical. Feel very honored to,
Mhm.
to be a part of that team, honored to have been, selected for the team to be the main domestique when that was my first year racing. In terms of doing the tour,
Yeah.
okay, what ended up happening is Betsy King, and it was great because all the teams there were super excited. Now, the media and the men, they were not as excited because it's supposed to be the Tour de France is the men. So this is our first year, right? And the newspapers were saying that they didn't think one woman would make it to the Champs-Élysées. Too hard, too difficult, too this, too that. We're like, we can do it. We knew because we didn't listen to the media. And the only people that didn't make it to the end was people that, got sick or got injured. Not all the men make it to the end either. So take that.
Mhm.
Um, but we did our race was we had 21 stages. I think it was actually 18 stages in 21 days. But we did it might have been shorter stages, but we did every mountain climb, every mountain pass. We would just start at a different spot, but we finished the same place as the men. They did a fabulous job with logistics and kind of calculating out how fast we would be. They wanted us to kind of finish about a half an hour before the men, so to clear out, our parade part, and so we can get changed and be out of the way. And it worked out great, but we did every pass. What we didn't do is a little parade. When it's 150 miles, the men aren't racing from the gun at 150, for 150. On the flats, they're, they're riding. I'm not taking anything away. I don't want the guys, oh, we're out there. What do you mean we're not racing? It's, it's different when you only have a 40-mile race and it's a 20-mile climb.
Yeah.
You only have 20 miles to warm up to get to that climb. The guys would have like 100 miles to get to the climb.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so it was, so Betsy ended up being injured. So when we realized that she was not going to be the leader, Marianne Martin was coming up, I was told, okay, Patty, you're Marianne's domestique. Okay. Betsy was very upset because she thought, I can do it. I can do it. Betsy, if you improve and get better and the leads changes again, then I'm going to be your domestique. She kind of felt betrayed by me. Because I was a roommate also at the Olympic Training Center. But I was doing what was best for the team. Okay. So the domestique, so I kind of blocked the win for Marianne. Okay. And I take up the hill, as far as I can. And then I would, go, okay, and all the other teams, they're doing the same thing. The domestiques are out there working for their leader, and then the leader has to, shine, and go on. But I never really was tired because that I did, now in hindsight down the road, one reason I was selected to the tour team is because of my triathlon ability, my Ironman training and all of that. I had the endurance, I had the power, I had the strength. And what I lacked was some speed. I'm not a sprinter. Well, I wasn't a sprinter back then. I can kind of not that bad now, but starting out. So that was a wise move on the coaches team, on the coaches, to put me on there and go, you know what? This is a workhorse. And not only is she a workhorse, she likes to work. And that's true. I mean, I was known in the Peloton. Sometimes different racers would go, oh, Patty's here. We're going to be racing from the gun. So I would create, I was like, what's this little parade thing? No, let's get going. We're not even racing that far. And I would just put the hammer down. I like to split the field, get rid of the weaker riders earlier than later. So there's less people in the field means less chance of crashing.
Mm-hmm.
It's when it's slow and people are really packed in, that's when the little crashes happen because some will hit and no, let's go from the gun. Let's settle in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot of fun. I love the strategy of bike racing. I didn't, so I didn't mind being a domestique, but I also was a leader at some times. And then when I raced by myself, because if I was at, local races or not racing, big as a team someplace, and you go back to your respective homes, I mean, I just raced from the gun. I'd lap the field a couple times. I mean, it was just, plain fun because I didn't have to think about my teammates.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, I can just ride. And coming from the triathlon world, I knew how to time trial. I knew what I was capable of, how far I can go by myself. So triathlons really helped me to become a good bike racer. Now, what's interesting is my very, very first bike race that I won was the Olympic Trials qualifier of the Northeast. So we get there, and it's kind of, I think it was a little bit rainy that day. It was in New Jersey, and I don't remember exactly, but it was some park, and we had to do all these laps. It was very hilly. Well, I'm in a breakaway with about 4 women. At the bottom, it's the last lap, the bottom of one of the final climbs. I dropped my chain and I can't get it back on just by pedaling. I had to stop my bike, get off my bike, put the chain back on, and mind you, I'm at the bottom of a climb,
Yeah.
get back on my bike and go. Well, now I'm racing so hard. Once again, I'm just, in my zone, going. I can see the break, and I think to myself, okay, what am I going to do when I get to the break? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep going because it was the last lap because I can't sprint against them. I got to win this solo.
Hmm.
So I come up on the break. I'm on the break. Yeah, the break. I just keep on going. I don't even slow down. It's like if someone, they're like shocked, because they thought there's no way Patty's going to get back on. Like, I don't know, did they slow down? So as I come across the finish line, they didn't realize I won. They rang the bell, like bell lap. I throw up my hand. I'm like, I'm done. I'm the winner. Nobody got a picture of it. My first victory as a solo at the Olympic trials qualified because they rang the bell, so they thought the person coming across is going to be one lap down.
Hmm.
And they're like, and so when the break finally came through, they had to talk to the officials because they didn't believe that I actually won. And the women in the break said, no, she was with us. She dropped her chain. She caught us and she passed that she is the legitimate winner. But I
Wow.
just always think my first victory and we don't have a photo. What am I going to show my parents?
Yeah.
you know. So I mean that was just I thought, oh my gosh, just my luck.
Yeah.
But so then, I ended up, racing for 5 years, around the world. I mean, it was crazy. It was fun. It was exciting. Opportunity. I mean, I would have seen the world like I saw it if I had to do all this and wait till I was retired. So, did I make money? I didn't lose money. And I gained a lot of, good friends. I'm still friends with a lot of the bike racers today. And it opened up so many doors, for me. And one big door it opened up. I worked on 5 Olympics, 4 with NBC, one with CBS as an associate producer, associate director. I worked. I was a color commentator afterwards. I wrote for magazines. I was in advertising sales for magazines. I was a media coordinator, a liaison for bike races. So I mean,
Mhm.
I've worn so many hats in the sports industry, all because of becoming an athlete, and not just becoming an athlete, but becoming an athlete that thought of the whole picture.
Right.
Okay, um, I owned it, so I didn't have someone who just did what I was told. Okay, it's too many athletes rely on somebody to tell them what to do, when to go, when to this. No, you have to know yourself, and you have to adjust. So, like with training, I mean, I've been training and being consistent because you had mentioned something about how did
Mhm.
you stay
Yeah.
long for so long. It's consistency. Consistency. You want to be good at anything. Anybody that is good at anything, they do it a lot. I mean, I constantly research, eat, sleep, breathe, health, and fitness. I've been teaching for 30 years, fitness educator, fitness professor, whatever you want to call it. And, I love it. People say, why don't you retire? Most people your age are retired. I said, but I love to teach. I love to teach people about health and fitness. I love to see what it does for them, mainly that confidence and self-esteem. When they realize it's not just about losing 5 pounds or getting ready for a wedding or fitting into skinny jeans or going for a reunion or going on that date, it's about improving yourself, feeling good about it. If you put in the work, you put in the time, you will have a lifestyle that you're going to be able to live for a long time without thinking, oh, I'm too old for that. You shouldn't do that when your age. When my students find out my age, especially now, they're like, oh my God, you're older than my grandmother. Because they're college students. I mean, they're pretty young.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, hey, Do, do you want to be able to do stuff like I can? Or
Mhm.
look at the history. If you have grandparents that aren't doing anything and they look and act old, that's because they're looking and acting old. They believe that they're old. I don't, I, I tell my body, it doesn't know my age. I keep it a secret. you know, do I have ailments here and there? Yeah, just like everybody else,
Mhm.
but I don't let it get me down. I figure out, okay, you know, what can I do to fix it? One of my things I wanted to do once I got back into, bike racing, I mean, not bike racing, duathlons and triathlons. I
Mhm.
was coming back, I was in triathlons, and I only got into that because there we had a local race. And I told my students at the time, I think all of you should enter this triathlon. Just on the training that we're doing in this class, I know you could finish. And some of you might even get on the podium. And they're like, well, are you going to do? And I was like, oh, if I'm having you all do it, I'll do it. That had to been back in, I don't know, 2000, 1999 or something. Um, and I ended up second female overall. And I thought, I still got it. And all my students, most of them, well, they all finished, and quite a few of them got on the podium. And then they were hooked. And I thought to myself, oh, I'm not so bad. I think I'm going to start racing again. And that's how I got back into it
Mhm.
because of telling my students to do it. I don't know if I would have gotten back into it if that one day,
Yeah.
you know. And then when the duathlon came about, um, I could eliminate the swim. I could just do run and bike because now I'm working, I'm married, I have a young child. I have to eliminate, time management here. And I only have a pool I can use in the summertime. So I always thought as a bike racer that I had the ability to win a world championship. Okay. I just never got the opportunity. And it's not like you can just go to the world championships. So I thought, oh man, that'd be fun. So we went, my husband suggested this duathlon in Arizona because my brother lived there and said, well, we can stay there. I said, okay, I'll do that. I'll go visit my brother and we can do this duathlon thing. I didn't know that it was a qualifier for Worlds. And I ended up qualifying for Worlds. And I thought to myself, I finally have an opportunity to get a world championship. Okay. So I'm thinking I'm all excited. But then I broke my wrist snowboarding.
Oh no.
So that was in March. And I thought, okay, I got surgery, I did the rehab, go to the race, and I'm trying to get back in better shape. I'm thinking I'm going to be on the podium. Well, as it turns out, I was fourth. Um, so I thought, okay, next year. Okay. So now that was 2009. 2010, I go back and I win. I won my first championship, world championship. I ended up also having I was fourth overall, but I won my age group.
Mhm.
Um, I was first after the bike, first overall after the bike. I couldn't
Wow.
believe it. And then I was 56. I was racing 56. Um, and I had the fastest bike split of all the women. It was so fast that the judges, the referees, the officials had to have a Team USA representative come and speak with them because they thought she must have cut the course or something. She's 56 years old. She can't be riding that fast.
Mhm.
Well, as soon as she mentioned to them, well, so then she came to me and said, the officials are questioning your time. I'm like, what? I've never cheated in my life.
That's
you
such
know,
a
I was like shocked. I said, no. They're like, do you usually ride that fast? I said, yes, I do. I said, look at my results. Look at all my races. And I said, now tell the officials to tell them that I was a member of the Championship Women's Tour de France team in 1984. So when she mentioned the Tour de France and
Mhm.
the Team USA that I was on that team, the official said, Tour de France, say no more. We believe her. It was crazy. It was just absolutely crazy. So I ended up going, then the national championships. I got my first national championship. That was I got 2012. They started the sprint duathlon championship. I said, I'm gonna do that. I like to redline it for like an hour.
Hmm.
Okay. I'd already done all that long distance stuff, and like I said, time management. And like I said, I like being in that red line,
Hmm.
but only for about an hour. I don't want to be in that for like 5 hours. So I entered that, and next thing you know, I get my first national championship. And to be able, I sent you a picture of that too, to be able to lift that tape up at the age of, I think I was 56, mid 50s,
Hmm.
was was not only exciting, but I thought, what an example for everybody out there. You know, do not use age as a reason why you're not achieving things, you know. So yeah, so I just kept on racing, kept on doing this, doing well, getting sponsors, you know, being guest speakers, doing motivational speaking. Um, so it was, I kind of continued what I was doing when in my younger years, but now I was older, I was more mature, um, been around been around the block, so to speak. So I was able to do a lot for my sponsors, a lot for people in general. I consider myself, like a professor coach.
Hmm.
Um, that's how I teach my classes at Chafee. And the athletes that I work with, it's all about, you know, finding finding what works for you and adjusting. I have in my mind, like I keep track of stuff, but I don't have a plan like, oh, next Tuesday. I have no idea what next Tuesday is going to be for my training until Tuesday. I know what I need to do,
Hmm.
but you have to learn to adjust your workouts based on your warm up because your warm up prepares you for the workout. And as soon as you plan to, it's like, okay, I'm going to train. You have to get in the frame of mind. You turn the outside world off. You're no longer a teacher, a mother, a sister, a son, a daughter. You're Patty. You're whoever you are, and you're an athlete getting ready to train. And because during the warm up, your body talks to you and tells you what kind of a workout it's going to be. I have three types of workouts. If anybody, you fall into one of these. Game day. Game day is like, oh my God, that's a gold medal day. I feel so good. Survival day after the warm up. Really? Warm up's over? I think I need to keep warming up. You know that that's going to be a survival day. If you plan to do speed work or major intervals, change that attitude. Your body is not going to be able to do it. So you have to adjust, bring it down. Maintenance day, that's what most of your days are. You felt good, you felt better, you can do basically everything, but you have to adjust. And sometimes you don't. The reason I say you don't know until the warm up, depending on what stresses you've had, you could be mentally fatigued. And when you're mentally fatigued, you think, oh God, I don't feel like working out. But if you go, okay, I'm mentally fatigued, and you start working out, well, now working out also releases the stress. Now the mind and body are getting together, and you start warming up. You're going, you know what? I feel pretty good. So now, because you're releasing that stress and you're no longer thinking about, oh God, I got to get to the store, I got to get to work, I got to change a diaper, or I got four kids in the house, I got to go pick somebody, depending on where you are in your life.
Hmm.
Um, that time, if you're going to work out, focus on working out. You can't have a good workout session or training session if your mind is not in it. If you're wandering all over the place, just go do something else. You have to focus if you want to get results. Now, if you're working out just to, I don't know, whatever reason, but if you're looking at it as training, becoming better at something, you have to focus, for that. And or sometimes you come in, you think, oh, I'm really ready to work out. I feel great, because you're on a high, you're on a mental high, and you're feeling good, and you're warming up, and the body says no. And you go, oh my God, it's a survival day. I thought it was going to be a game day. You don't know until you're doing the warm up, but you have to be honest with yourself. See, that's another thing too. A lot of people, they don't really know themselves, so they don't know how to admit and be honest with yourself. Um, I mean, there are some days on a survival day and I'm out there running. I'm thinking, if I had to run any faster, I don't think I could. How could I run? How did I ever run fast? And it's those days that keep you grounded because you're only as good as your last training day or your last race. You constantly, when you get to a point that you like your fitness, maybe you're just working out to get in shape and, just the whole body. Don't just work one part of your body or half your body. Once you get to wherever you want to be, you have to work to stay there. That's where the consistency comes in. Once you start letting things go, it only takes 72 hours for your body to start to be deconditioned. So if you're taking a lot of time off without your body needing it, now like when you go through surgery or you're injured and you're recovering from that, do you need time off? Yes, you do. But realize that's part of the recovery. You know, you have to, then yes, is it going to be a while before you get back? Yeah, it is because you've been injured. But you have to be honest with yourself and work out accordingly. It's and I think, too many people get stuck in, no, I've got, or they're too technical. They always constantly look at the heart rate, the power meter, all this stuff. It's the engine. I mean, remember I had that Kmart bike and I was able to stay up with all these people and all their racing gear and all their nice bikes and things like that. I ride with it like during the tour or during bike racing. Whatever someone gives me to ride or tells me to do, I don't go like, oh my God, but this isn't top of the line. I can't do that. No, I just ride it. You train. This is the engine,
Mhm.
your head and your body working together. The two, when you're working out and training, these two have got to always be together. Once you start have a wandering mind, there's a disconnect from the body, and the body's saying, "What do you want me to do?" It doesn't just do things on its own. So, like when I'm working out, I'm constantly thinking, even now, as with all my muscle memory and stuff, I'm constantly thinking about my form and technique, my breathing. I'm like a machine. Okay. My brain is constantly working and I'm constantly trying to tweak my technique, make it better. I never think, and one reason why I keep winning races is I never think I'm good enough. Because I have to work to maintain this. So I never enter a race thinking it's a shoe in. Other people, they'll say, oh, I've heard people say, we're racing for second. Patty's here. And I think to myself, you're giving me an up. If you're racing for second, then
Mhm.
you're not even going for first. So you're not going to get first because your mind said second. Okay. I go in to race my best. I don't go in to beat anybody. I have times that I want to do. I so I use the race to help me be better. So if I beat people, that's excuse me, I was like icing on the cake. But I'm not out there to go, oh, I'm going to beat that person, I'm going to beat that person. No, I'm going to do what I want to do at that race. Sometimes I'll have a race and I did my best. I'm excited and I got second or third. And I'm ecstatic. Other times I'll get first, but I didn't do a time I wanted. I'm not as excited. So to me it's personal. And that's why I keep doing well because compete I'm not out to beat somebody. I'm out to see what I can do and do the best that I can do.
What are your goals now, Patty?
My goals now, uh well, one, I'd still like to stay undefeated in my age group. I have decided that I'm gonna I've been playing a lot of pickleball.
Oh, yes,
I
that's
I I needed a new challenge because it's kind of like, okay, how many more races do I need to do? I'm repeating races and things like that. I wanted a challenge. So pickleball is my challenge. So when you start when you're at the bottom, you can only go up. You know? So it's fun going up and learning. And I've been playing with a bunch of people here. And once again, I mean, people kind of go, Patty, they kind of help me a little bit, especially. And what's fun too is most of them don't know anything about me. I'm in a totally different element. So it's fun being unknown and a new sport, and
Mhm.
people want to help you. And then when people do find out, some of them want to help you a little bit more. It's like, okay, you got talent, you got this, you're a fighter, this and that. So I did qualify. I wanted to go to nationals, so I did qualify for senior nationals in July in Pittsburgh. I qualified last year in my first tournament.
That's so cool.
So so that's my big event for this year. I was asked to um, to join a mixed duathlon relay team for nationals this year. Um, so I'm going to do that with some people out of Florida.
Mhm.
So I'm excited about that because relays are fun. It's not just relying on you. It's like it's going to go back and forth. Um, so those are pretty much that it the challenge is going to be the pickleball. Um, and then I wanted my daughter or my husband and I. Um, our daughter is pregnant. She's going to be
Aw.
I'm going to be a grandparent in June. I'm
Mhm.
going to be a nanaw, Nan, Naw. My mother, she was called Nanaw.
Mhm.
So I'm going to be Nanaw. So that's a new chapter. And I'd like to, do some things that I haven't done. We travel a little bit more in terms of not thinking of training because I want to see some sights and do some things without having to worry about getting up and running and training, and all that stuff. So um, we're starting to do that. We went to Hawaii recently with some friends that we met on through duathlons, and we worked out, of course. I mean, we're going to work out, but it wasn't like we would adjust what we were doing the night before because we got to get up and run, we got to go here and there.
Mhm.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Um, and then we'll see, you know, I'm not having anything big. So those are my two big things is going to nationals and doing the mixed relay and going to nationals for pickleball. So, and I would like to, I'd like to get a medal if I can my first
Mhm.
year. But if not, it's my first. That's why I'm excited because I don't know what's
Mhm.
ahead. So the unknown is
Yeah.
exciting.
You kind of actually probably given us so many words of empowerment at this point. But we always end our episodes with this question of like,
Okay.
what words of empowerment would you give other women, other people? Maybe they're starting out, maybe they're trying to keep going. Just like what words would you give them?
Okay. I can. They have to tell themselves if you want to do something, you got to tell yourself, I can do this. Imagine why you're doing this. What result do you want from this? You have to you have to imagine it, commit to the program, have a positive attitude, and never give up. And now what I call that is the I Can team. So all my students now, I've been teaching at Chaffey College for 30 years.
Mhm.
They all become members of the I Can team. Imagine what you're doing and why you're here. Commit to the program. Have a positive attitude and never give up. So that's how I've been doing my whole life. And I only realized it when I started teaching more and when I started competing more that that's how I've been living my life when I was a child too.
Mhm.
Just oh yeah, I can do that. I can do that. Yeah. And I think anybody really can, but you have to believe it. You just have to, throw doubt to the wind because if it's not going to kill you or hurt somebody else, why not give it a shot? The
Mhm.
worst thing that can happen is you don't succeed the way you thought you did, or it turns out you don't really like it and you don't want it anyway.
Mhm.
I mean, it just goes to show, I mean, I don't think negative. You have to think, positive. And when a negative thought comes in your head, you have to get rid of it right away because negative thoughts are like cancer, untreated. It will just grow and grow. It's not going to help you. If anything, it's going to be like self-fulfilling prophecy, which means you become what you think you are. So if you say in your head, oh, I'm not going to do well, I'm not going to do well, this is too hard, guess what? You're going to prove yourself right. And then you say to yourself, see, I told you it was too hard. It's like, well, that's because you told your body it was too hard. Your body listened to you. So what do you want it to do? It's not going to, your body is not going to go against your thoughts because the body only does what your thoughts tell you to do. So don't blame it on anybody else, the weather, the cold, or this or that. It was your mind and your attitude, you know.
Right.
So if people, I mean, it's very simple that I can do this. I can team. The other one is see it, believe it, achieve it. You have to see your vision, you know. So people that win, I start to see, especially in my major races, I start seeing that race, you know, months in advance, especially if I plan it months in advance. But if it's something else, I see myself winning. I play it in my head. I do my arms up, my victory. I have my pose down. I see myself, the strategy, especially if I know who's going to be there. I see it and then I believe it. And then you just have to go work out and achieve it. Does it always work? Not always, but that you have to do that. So I can see it, believe it, achieve it. Between those two things, I say it's simple because we kind of complicate life. We make complications. If we would just realize it's not that complicated. You know, you just have to figure it out what works for you, and you got to get to know yourself. And it is a cognitive thought. You have to do that. Once that negative thought, you're aware, like you say anything, even if you don't say it out loud, but if you say it in your head, your body listens to it.
Hmm.
So you go everything in with a positive attitude. I don't care what it is. Who really wants to clean the house? I mean, who likes that? Who wants to clean the toilet? But if you're going to do it, I look at this, I'm getting an arm workout in, this and that. I look at the results. Oh, look at how nice that toilet looks. But I mean, the thing, that's how you get yourself to do things.
Mhm.
You have to have a good attitude. If you have to do it, why not have a good attitude?
Right.
You know, when you get up in the morning, look at yourself in the mirror and go, hello, gorgeous. It's going to be a good day. Don't wait for someone else to give you that pat on the shoulder or to give you a compliment or say happy Valentine's Day. Do it to yourself. No one knows what's going on in your head. So you can give yourself all those looking good today. There's nothing wrong with pumping yourself up. Don't wait for somebody else to pump it up because then you might be waiting around and never get it.
Mhm.
Take control of your life, control what you can. What you can't control, you got to learn to live with. But don't get upset over something you have no control over. I mean, we all do. It's easier said than done. But
Mhm.
you got to stop yourself and go, I don't have control over that. And then see it, believe it, achieve it. Never too old, never too late, and never give up. Really, the thing about never too old, don't let age, don't let any characteristic keep you from something. Like, are you too short or too tall? Don't make excuses of why you can't accomplish something. You know, if there's a will, there's a way. All the cliches are a cliche for a reason because they're true. So I think women really the never too old, never too late, never give up. Make adjustments, yes. And you can drop something. That's not giving up. You realize I didn't really want that because what I imagine, it's not what I want. I have to readjust that. An artist, a painter, changes their painting all the time because all of a sudden they decide, oh, a different color, this and that. But and don't be afraid. Don't be afraid not to do so well. If you really want something, you'll learn it. You'll get better. Your body adapts quickly to it, and apply it in all aspects of your life, not just fitness. You know, put yourself out there, test yourself, challenge yourself. It's exciting to get a little bit of butterflies in the nerves. And then when you accomplish it, it's like, oh my God. And take the little steps, the little markers. You know, don't think, it's not going to happen overnight, but you get a victory, put those arms up in victory. It feels good to throw those arms up. It's, so, get out there. No, no fear, no fear, no hesitation, no limits, no excuses, and definitely no whining.
Usually I ask if there's anything that I haven't asked you, but I feel like it's been such an easy interview because I haven't had to ask you anything. It's been exactly what I was going to ask you, but you've just gone through it without me having to say anything.
Well, you gave me good cues.
Okay, well, good. Thanks.
You gave me good cues. And also too, because I've been a keynote speaker and motivational speaker, that it kind of, there's so many different things to talk about depending on, what the audience is.
Mhm.
But yeah, I just like to see people, I like to see people live, you know, live the life. They have to get confidence and self-esteem, and that is by setting little goals to the big goal. You have your short term, you have your long term goals, and it's not going to be like this. I mean, it goes all over the place, but you have to be proactive, keep moving forward, and when you're down or upset, yeah, have a good cry. You can get upset, you can be mad, but don't stay down too long. You have to give yourself okay, I'm going to be upset for 2 days, no more than 2 days. That second, third day comes, nope, no more. Get it out in those 2 days. You gave yourself 2 days. It's done. Move forward. Because who wants to be down for too long? But it's permissible, but you can't you can't normalize down.
Do you have anything that you support that you want to plug? Any like causes or just like maybe things that you're doing that you want people to follow along? Like,
Well, the only thing, well, one plug I would like to give is, well, this year I'm going to be racing with Team Zoot. Okay, so I'm excited about that opportunity because you apply just like everybody else, and I got accepted, so I'm excited to be the team. As a matter of fact, I got a little jersey on Team Zoot. Did you get that?
Yep, yep.
I gotta go this way. There. Oh, there we go. Wait, my hair. Okay. Um, no, it's like I'm not a that's mainly it's not like really plugging it. It's like I think my family, my friends, uh, and but that really I just want people to you know take what they have and make themselves better for themselves. Don't do things for other people. When you try to do something like, if especially, let's face it, so many people always talk about losing weight, this, and why are they losing weight? Are they losing it for them, or are they losing it for some, they think it's going to make them happier? Because so many people think, oh, if only I had this, make me happy. And then you get this, and it didn't make me that happy. Find out, get to know yourself. Get to know yourself, and happiness comes from, being best friends with you,
Mm-hmm.
and just and I think that also comes, with wisdom. Once, because everybody wants just to be happy. I mean, it's so easier said than done. I just want to be happy. Just want to be. Well, that's where the honesty comes into. What makes you really happy? Okay, and for me, it's health and fitness. Tell you the truth. Well, listen, let's definitely stay in touch.
Yes, for sure. It's been
Stay
great.
in touch. I feel like we're best friends now.
I know.
It's like I want to go for a run with you. I wish you lived
Yeah.
close to here. We'd come work out.
Yeah, I'd love to take you on a trail around here. It's gorgeous.
I
So
love trail running. It's
yeah.
just so much fun,
Yeah.
because the trail dictates the pace.
Yep, exactly.
So it forces you to slow down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I always it's like evens everybody out too. You get faster, slower, it doesn't matter. Everybody's gonna go the same pace.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yep.
yeah. Well, listen, it was a pleasure meeting you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Stay in touch, and like I say, if you need anything from me, just let me know.
Yes, I will. All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Women in Power Active. You can follow me personally. That's at Jacqueline Gross, JACALYNGROSS. I mostly take pictures while using my own engine. You can follow UR Sportswear, that's the letter U, the letter R, Sportswear on all social platforms. You can check out any of our products at ursportswear.com. If you are listening to this and want to watch our full videos, you can go to UR Sportswear's YouTube channel, which is UR Sportswear, and subscribe. Both the audio and video version of this podcast was produced by Jeremy Canaria and edited by me. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoy this podcast as much as I do.